See, I already talked about how I wasn't really hyped to begin with. I said that before there was any gameplay trailer and all that. I literally said that. And the news that we got just brought it down even more. So summer game summer where the fuck is this? Summerfest had this thing, and this the interviewer was talking to the director for the game, and he was asking like, is it is Harry Venom, or is this an introduction to Eddie Brock? And the director himself said that Eddie Brock was not Venom. And right when he says this, you can literally hear the disappointment in the crowd. You can literally hear that. That is a huge letdown. Thank you for disappointing me now before I was massively disappointed when I played the game. Because like I I don't like this. I don't. How do you see Venom? Whenever we think of Venom, we think of Eddie Brock. We think about Eddie Brock's hatred towards Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, whatever. And the fact that Eddie is not in the game but Venom is makes zero fucking sense. And if oh my god. So if Harry turns out to be Venom, then we're already being introduced into Harry being a dick. That's pretty much what it is. Our introduction to Harry is him being a dick. Harry in the flesh, by the way. And see, one thing I always spoke on is like I wasn't hyped for this game to begin with because of all these characters. You got fucking Miles Morales, you got Venom, you got all these characters before you even get Green Goblin. That makes zero sense to me. I always said that these characters should have been introduced like later in the following installments, but we already got all this before we even get Green Goblin. That makes no sense to me. But understand one thing. I consider Insomniac as a troll company because the first game they were marketing Mr. Negative as the main villain. We all were actually convinced that he was the main villain until you keep playing through the story and then you realize like, oh, Doc Ock is the main villain. Like when we first playing like the first hour of the game, you wouldn't suspect it until later on. That's how natural that was. Good writing, by the way. I'll give credit for that. But then you also have that Rami suit thing. See, here's my take on this. They asked for that. They wanted that. All they had to do was give a straight answer, but instead they were just stoking the fire, literally just trolling and all that. And then people were like, no, you can't talk to them like that. Like, there's not much we can do because they're literally bringing it on themselves. I'm just saying. But anyway, that's what I mean when I say Insomniac is a troll company. I mean, he may be lying, he may not be. But I mean, hopefully he is lying because what he just said was complete bullshit. See, I always had a problem with, them wanting to make, characters like fucking Miles Morales. You put Miles Morales in this game, but you don't bring Eddie Brock in. Then, see, understand one thing. Peter Parker in the game is he's using tendrils and all that. He knows that the suit is alive. In the comics, he freaked out because he realized the suit was alive. He freaked out and took it off. But in the game, see, if it's one thing about this game, it seems like it's heavily following the Ultimate Universe. And Peter's using tendrils and all that nonsense and so forth. I just don't know. Like, see, I don't know how they're going to do this because if there's anything about it, the Venom symbiote hates Peter and Eddie hates Peter. And when they come together, like, that's why I don't like. How is this going to work without Eddie Brock? That makes zero sense. I don't get it. They want to go for their own original story. I'm like, okay, but like, do you really have to exclude a really big character for this? Like, I just don't know the direction that they're going with this. And then these fucking idiots, I swear, every time, bro, these idiots always come in trying to defend something. Fucker, like, one thing I seen was this one guy said, what did he say? He said, you do know that that Venom has more hosts than Eddie Brock, right? I'm like, but Venom was introduced with Eddie Brock. This, like, it makes no sense that they are. See, this is my conclusion that I came to. Eddie Brock is better off not even being in the game if you're not going to make him Venom. Eddie Brock is not going to be in the game since he's not going to be Venom. There, you know what? Let me see. This is a Sony game, so Eddie Brock will be in the game, but if he's not Venom, he's going to have a cameo. That's how it's going to work. Because Sony, the same people who ruined Spider-Man 3 and all that, I think that Sony is low-key controlling, they're taking over, same way they did with Spider-Man 3 and the Amazing Spider-Man series. I mean, it's very evident that they're doing that because, you had that Peter Parker face change thing where I think Insomniac knew that people liked the original face, but Sony told them to switch it. And they get this guy who looks damn near like Tom Holland, and he looks even younger. But the problem is, like, the original face, he seemed to be more your average guy. But then they switched his face and, like, whatever. And that led to an outburst. And then again, people came in trying to defend that, saying, I like the new face better. It's so much better than no. Like, bro. And, you also have the Miles Morales scene where he was actually supposed to be a cameo. But instead, they literally shoehorned him into the story. And yes, they shoehorned him. Because, like, you mean tell me if all the police officers Spider-Man could work with, it just so happened to be his dad? And then Peter just ends up trying to work directly with Miles. Like, come on, bro. That's literally shoehorning. But, get what I'm saying. I don't think that Insomniac was behind those things. I think it was all Sony. Because you also have to remember at the same time, Into the Spider-Verse was coming out that year. So Sony had to be the ones who had enforced Miles Morales into that story mode. And with this Venom situation, like, I always said that if they want to make serious bank, they need to make a Venom game, just like they made that unnecessary ass Miles Morales game. They should go ahead and make a Venom game. But I don't know. Again, I don't know the direction that they're going with this to not have Eddie Brock as Venom. And people can try to defend this all they want, but they just have to accept that this is a very disappointing, statement. And that they also have to bring in the fact that people, you literally heard the disappointment in that crowd when dude said that Eddie Brock was not Venom. So my only advice now is just to wait until the game releases and see what happens. But other than that, if it's true that Eddie Brock is not Venom, that, well, actually, I wasn't hyped to begin with, but that just, kind of kills it for me because I don't know the direction that they're going at all with this universe after that.